All right, I'm going to kick it off and I'm going to just jump in here for those of you that are on time. It is Tuesday. Today's not Tuesday, today's Thursday. It's Thursday. It's the end of the week and the end of the crazy Halloween week. I appreciate all of you making time. Of course, we are recording this. My goal with this time is to have it be somewhat of a collaborative working meeting. My hope is that we can run through some of the compliance measures for the upcoming check and make sure that everybody has their metadata dictionaries kind of in their back pocket and ready to move forward. I see some names on here that I know will have something to say and assist with because we've been working hard getting metadata dictionaries up and running. So without any further ado, I'm going to just jump ahead. And if you have any questions, please light up the chat. But thank you for those of you that were intending to come last week. I was in Provo and not able to make it. So I appreciate you adjusting your calendars and joining us today. I am John Lyman. I'm student data privacy trainer at Utah State Board of Education. That is not the building that I'm currently at, but it's a fine building. It was actually built by the same person that built the house that I'm sitting in right now. So that's kind of auspicious. I'd like to remind those of you that haven't or have watched last month's call. It is located in our shared drive, which I'll probably reference. If you're not familiar with our shared drive, I'm going to put a link to it in the chat here in just a little bit. But these are the steps for review of how I would prefer we go through the DPA process. That a teacher requests an app, that you check the Utah applications menu. If it's not on the Utah applications menu, then we search the national database. That helps inform us as to the likelihood that a vendor is going to play nice or not play nice with us. Depending upon the information that we find out there, we will send them a new data privacy agreement. And then I would like for everybody to go through step 5 and check those data privacy agreements. And then one of the things that we will be talking about this year quite a bit is renewals. So this is just a reminder of what last month's call was about. And these are the different things that you can use to access the things that we've talked about. Right here is the USPA shared drive. And actually, let me put a link to this in the chat right now. And we're going to talk about this next piece. Dang it, John. Share. I'm sharing this with all of you. Here is our presentation so that we can look at this together. Nate Taggart, I'm letting you in the Zoom. Okay. So what I've done is I am hoping that all of you can join this presentation. There are some hyperlinks in here that I think are going to be of value to you. Jennifer Burrows Sanchez, ¿cómo estás? Oh my gosh. All right, so to begin again, because I'm letting people in and we're getting all out of sorts. If you can.
How is it best, guys? How can I help you facilitate?
Yeah, what you need.
Social. Yeah. How can we help?
I think when they say social, they just want time to talk about.
Okay, we've got a bunch of folks joining us. Please again, join us on the document that we are going over. And what you will see here is what I have is I've set up my screen in a way that I'm hoping that everybody will set their screen up. Oh my gosh, please.
Did it start yet?
John, do you want to make someone a co-host?
Let me do that real quick. I will. Does anybody want to volunteer? Trisha, I can volunteer you. How about that?
That'll work.
Okay, there's a lot more folks on here than I was expecting. Thanks. Okay, so this recording will be able to be accessed in, this is our shared drive folder. I'm going to talk to you about this real quick. Let me give you a link to this. In this shared drive folder, everybody should have this bookmarked. This is where we can access all of our recordings, all of our resources. Our monthly calls are in here. Here you can find September's and actually the October, November one. This is the one that we are currently doing right now. These are in the shared drive folder, in the folder. These are things that we can talk about on individual calls, or if you want to go back to September, we talked a lot about all the different resources that are in here. And actually I've added 2 new ones. So I'm going to go on a bit of a detour real quick, but if anybody is using Scratch, and Troy Lunt, if you're here, maybe I'll dial you up for a second. But there is some new guidance on Scratch. If anybody is using Scratch, you may want to stop using Scratch for now until you can apply this new guidance. The guidance comes from 2 different realms. One is that Scratch asks kind of a very law violating question in regards to gender. So there's some guidance as to how to process that with students on this sheet as well. And then there is an online community aspect to where they have figured out, and I know that they do this in Iron County, that they have just taken the computers that use Scratch off of the internet. Troy, are you around? Do you have anything to say about Scratch?
Yeah, I think you hit on what we're doing, which is a lot of ours came about because we had incidents of students who got into conversations and chats that were with inappropriate people and led to some big issues. And so we ended up having to block the chat function, which is one of the big features of using Scratch, is being able to have the chat function there. And we ended up blocking that, which created an obvious problem here in using Scratch the way that they wanted to use it. And so the state did this work here to help us come up with some options. And we went with the offline option, which is to use Scratch, but use it as an app that doesn't connect to the internet. And then that way the chat doesn't come available. You can block the chat and still use Scratch, but the issue that we found is that doesn't prevent you from using comments to also communicate with people. So the only way we could really get around this was to take it offline and then use the app version that doesn't use or does not require the internet.
Cool. Yeah, thanks a ton. This is a really cool infographic. I really appreciate how much time was put into it. I put a link into the chat for this infographic if you want to share it with your tech coaches or anybody that may work with Scratch. I mean, the problem is Scratch is a really nice program. We just want it to not come in conflict with some of our laws and best practices. And the other thing that I've added to our shared drive here is this inventory template. So if you want to get an inventory of the things that you're using, what you can do is right click on this, make a copy. It will save to your drive. And essentially what you're getting is a Google form that asks everything that SDPC or that you're going to want to know in regards to app procurement. Is the name of the app, the website, vendor contact, what's the purpose of the app, the cost, grades, etc., etc. So that is all available in our shared drive. Please bookmark our shared drive. And if you want to go over these specifics, you can watch our September call, which is in this folder. And then we have some screenshot tutorials as well. Close some of this real quick. Okay, so what I am looking to do is I'm looking to spend some time on this slide 6, these metadata dictionary instructions. Let me copy this and put this in the chat. So my hope for this time is that we spend it actually putting some things in your registries. Now, I'm assuming that the majority of you that are here are users of SDPC and or you are going to use SDPC as your metadata dictionary, or you're going to do something else and you're just curious as to what we're talking about here today. But what I would like to do is have you open up this metadata dictionary instructions document. And we're going to navigate to page 8. And on page 8, what it does is it details. Let me navigate over there to page 8. Your review criteria. And so what Katie has done is she has created one of the most thorough documents that I've seen in quite some time. And this is kind of small because I've been playing with my browser zoom size. So I'm going to hit Control-0 and make it sizable so that we can read it. But I'm going to ask some of you to play with your browser size menus during this time so that we can create a little bit of a workflow. So what you'll see here is what is required this year is everything that was required last year, no matter which one of these 3 options you choose as your review criteria. But down here is where you get to choose. You get to choose as to you want to do applicable products from the state. The state listed products, no more than 10 of the products on the LEA list are used in your LEA. You may limit up to 10 and only entries. In this compliance survey, the primary data manager will include which 10 products we should check. Over here, 10 additional products of your choice beyond the ones that you had on your compliance survey last year. And then this one is a quality check. We spot check randomly 10 products that you have in your metadata dictionary for accuracy and completeness. So these are the 3 things, but the one thing that you'll notice that is ubiquitous across all 3 is that we have 1, 2, 3 things that all require this stuff from last year. And as I'm looking at metadata dictionaries, I'm noticing that quite a bit of them don't have this foundational software in there. So that's what we are going to do today. Now, if this is, like I said, redundant for some of you, if you already have some of this on here, that's fantastic. If you don't and you want to work along with me, I would totally appreciate that. We're also going to talk about how to add some of this extra stuff on the back end. But this is going to be a majority of what I do. I'm actually going to work through this, and we are recording this. So if you would like to return to this, then I would strongly invite you to. But what I'm going to do is I'm on a PC, and this may be kind of mansplaining, but some people don't know that if you take your window right here and you go like this and you throw it over the side, it will take over that whole side. And I want that to take over that side, and I want this one to take over this side. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm sorry if this is the hard, I've been like trying to figure out what the best way is to facilitate this piece of instruction. And so if I lose you, please speak up, but this is really the best way that I've found for us to do this. So I'm trying to be as communicative as possible. But what I'm going to do is I am going to go up to these 3 little dots, and I am going to go, actually, I'm going to switch this to my SDPC, and I'm going to, so this is what SDPC will normally look like. It'll be all big and clunky. And when we go in to add a new agreement or something like that, it's going to look like this, and you're not going to be able to see anything because it renders really weird. And so what I'm getting at is that it's best if we go up to these 3 dots on our browsers. There's one on each one of these pages. And I'm going to click these 3 dots, and I'm going to zoom, and I'm going to go down to 67%. And as you can see, by going to 67, it makes it so that this page over here renders perfectly. And I'm going to do the same over here on this page, and we're going to render it down to 67. And it looks kind of small, and I'm not old enough to wear glasses yet, but if I was, I would. And so what I'm also going to do.
John?
Yes, Sue.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So this is only applicable if you are doing this on one screen, right? If you have multiple screens,
If you have multiple
you're good
screens,
to
you
go.
can do it. You can do it however you want. I'm just trying to come up what you'll see is we're trying to create like a quick workflow. Like what I'm going to do is I'm going to work through about 5 of these super quickly. And my hope is that if you have some sort of a workflow where you've got this metadata dictionary instruction page up on one screen and you've got SDPC up on another screen, if you can bebop back between these 2 documents, it'll make your life a lot easier. But however you set this up, but this is just for me to describe to you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to this metadata dictionary instruction page, and I am going to open up this dialog on the side, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to click on Appendix E. Now you may be ahead of me, or you may be behind me, but remember, we're recording this, and my hope is that we can all follow along at a later time, maybe. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get this set up to where we are here. I'm going to log in. I'm going to log into SDPC. I'm logged in. I'm actually logged in Granite. So if anybody here is from Granite, I'm going to be working on your account today. So Annie, if that's you, we're going to be doing some stuff on the Granite account. So what I'm looking at here is, and Scott from Uinta, who's on the call, he and I worked on this last week and this week, and maybe he can assure us that this is a good method. But what we have here on Appendix E are all of the state required products. We have Appendix E. I'm going to scroll down. We have Appendix F, which has more state required products. These are our assessment products like Apple and WIDA and ACT and Elevation. And so what we're going to do is we're going to try to add as much of Appendix E that is applicable to your LEA, and Appendix F, which is applicable to your LEA. And then Appendix G are those commonly used products. These are just those other type of ed tech products that you may be using. And according to those options up above, if you use 10 of these and you add them to your metadata dictionary registry, then you should be pretty good to go. So there's quite a list right here to pull from. And plus we also have that approved applications menu to go based off of as well. And I'm sure that all of you use at least 10 products that we can add. And I'd also like to plug, if you're not in the know, that next week, next Monday, our team is going to be in Ogden at the Weber Innovation Center for our fall conference. On next Tuesday, we will be at the Nebo Center in Springville for our fall conference. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be in St. George for that same fall conference. So if you want to attend our fall conference and have not yet registered for that, I can drop some information in the chat. We're on the Eventbrite site. So if you're interested in that, or maybe send me an email afterwards and I can get that to you, because we're going to be out next week, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for me to meet one-on-one with you. So if we'd like to meet one-on-one, let's try to get that on the calendar. But I'm going to jump in here and just kind of start working. So what I see up here is this first one. I believe this is applicable to all of us. It is UTREX. And so you can see the Utah State Board of Education right here, UTREX. So I'm going to enter this product. Now you're looking at this and you see on and on and on. There's all these products and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of stuff. And once we get cranking here, it's not going to be a whole lot of stuff. So one of the things that I'd like to also point out is each one of these columns is of value. That's the product or resource name. This is what it's called in SDPC if it's different than the column to its left. If you're using Learn Platform, this is how you would put it into Learn Platform. We're not going to be talking about Learn today, but I love it. Any sort of notes that are applicable to you as you're putting this into the registry. The purpose, justification, and FERPA exception. So anybody that's used SDPC before or has inputted anything knows that these are the three things that are required. And essentially all this is just tells us which ones to do. And for the purpose, you'll see that all I'm going to do is I'm going to just copy and paste these over and over again. So if you're ready, I'm ready. I'm going to get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to SDPC and I'm going to add a new agreement. So there's going to be 3 clicks that we're going to do over and over again. I call them our 3 quick gestures. 1, add a new agreement. We always have a signed agreement when we're working with SDPC, so we're always going to hit this teal button. 2, and then these are state contracts. So they fit in our SDPC ecosystem as other types of agreements. So 3. So I'm going to do those 3 gestures over and over again. Add a new agreement. Yes, we have a signed contract, and other type of agreement. Okay, so now we're on this page, which is almost directly a reflection of this table that we were going to look at. So we're going to select a resource. Now keep in mind, SDPC is a little slow from time to time, and it's going to make me look foolish, I'm sure, during this call. But I'm going to click down here. I'm going to type in to this search. I'm going to type in Utrex. And I'm going to wait for the hamsters to run from here in West Valley City to Cambridge, Massachusetts and back. And I'm going to select Utrex as our vendor. The next thing that I'm going to select is the type of agreement. Now this is through USB. It's actually USPA's own product. So we are going to add it as, and you'll see here, these are all of our different types of agreements. We've talked about these in the past if you've worked with me, but the only ones that we're really working on right now are these two, a USPA statewide agreement or a UETN statewide agreement. These are the only two that we're going to be working with, okay? So I'm going to select this is a USPA statewide agreement. Utrex is a USPA statewide agreement. There's a lot of other fields on here, and it gets really confusing as to which ones you need. For the purposes of this exercise and for compliance of this piece, we are going to skip all of this information right here. And we're going to go down and we are going to include the metadata. So for Utrex, my assumption is that Utrex is going to apply to everything. And I know that Granite has a pre-K because my daughter attended pre-K. So I'm going to add that to this. And then I'm going to figure that Utrex covers all of our content area. So I'm going to select all of those. Now, internal data, we don't need any of this. For declined agreements, well, this isn't a declined agreement. We don't need it. Other information, justification. Well, over here on this side, justification shows me that it is a state requirement. So I'm going to click this button, state requirement. And over here, FERPA exception shows me it's an audit evaluation. That is the FERPA exception, is audit evaluation. I'm going to hit continue. Now, this asks for the data elements. Now, we don't have an exhibit B for this. We normally add all of our data elements when we're adding a new vendor. So for now, for the purposes of adding all of these vendors, we are going to skip this step. And then you see here for purpose, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to copy and paste if my mouse will let me. And I appreciate you all sitting and listening intently, loving every moment of my instruction, because I'm talking into a void. Information required to be sent to the State Board of Education. Save resource info. We're done. We just added Utrex to our database. And then you can see here, here's all of the stuff that we use. So now we're going to move on to the next one. Can my representative from Granite School District inform me as to what your SIS is? Granite. And if not, we'll just skip this. Annie, what is your SIS? Do you know?
It's Discovery, but we're changing it.
Okay, so should we skip this one for now?
Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Okay, and and then are you familiar if you guys have, I'm assuming that you have a lot of these other ones, this Kite, I mean, and you may not know specifically, Rise, Utah Aspire Plus. Do you know if you use Canvas?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so we're just gonna work on these ones right now as a group. And then over here, you can see like, well, I don't use Aspire. I use Skyward or Power School or Compass or Infinite Campus. Over here are examples of SISs. Okay, and maybe what we'll do is we'll skip the SIS one for now because they're switching. We're going to jump down to Kite and DLM. And as some of you are going to be like, well, I don't use that. Well, that's why there's an asterisk here, because you may not use it. Your LEA may be a K through 6 and you may not use this, or you're like, I don't even know what that is. And then you read over here what the purpose is: end of year alternative assessment for students with significant cognitive disabilities. And then you're like, oh, well, you do use that. Or you might want to talk to an assessment director, somebody at your LEA. You may want to even print out this list before you even start inputting it in and saying, which one of these products do we use, and just cross off the ones you don't, and then go through the list as we're going right now. So I'm going to jump over here and I'm going to do our 3 gestures. I'm going to go add new agreement. Yes, we have a signed agreement, other type of agreement, and we are going to type in Kite. And wait for the gerbils to run to Cambridge and come back. And here we have DLM Kite Dynamic Learning Maps. And it says on Katie's Kite Suite student portal, it's not showing up as the way that it should. So I'm going to just choose this one, Dynamic Learning Maps Kite. And then I'm going to go down here, select USPE statewide agreement. I'm going to skip these. I'm going to assume that it's for most of the, how many of you are like, I don't know. But guess what? You can always come back in and edit this. We can always come back in and edit this. This is not a conversation between you and USPE. We're here to help you meet compliance. This is you being transparent and an advertisement with your faculty and families as to which products you use. Kite is a federal requirement and a state requirement. So I'm going to put federal and state. And then we've got a school official over here and an edit evaluation. And then I'm going to skip. I'm going to copy. And I'm going to paste. And that's it. Rise. Let's do Rise real quick. Gesture 1, 2, 3. Rise. The gerbils are tired of running. R-I-S-E. Does anybody have any questions as we're going here? These, remember, for those of you that have joined late, we are adding state contracts to our metadata dictionary based on this listing on our right that is available to us through the metadata dictionary instructions page. I'm going to USPE, and we're going to scroll down here, select all, select, and Rise is end of year summative interim for grades 3 through 8. Oh my gosh, 3 through 8. I guess I'm going to uncheck these because they're not applicable. It's a good time. I'm glad I read that. 3 through 8, end of year assessment. Okay, and it's probably not all of these content areas. So I'm going to just select maybe these. And if anybody knows and you want to chime in and not make me look foolish, that's fine. I totally appreciate that. But Rise, I don't know these programs specifically.
English language
John?
arts, math and
Language
science.
arts.
John, DLM, Kite DLM is only for math, language arts, and science.
Okay. So I can go back in and edit that, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So who was it that knows about Rise? What is Rise for? Math, English, and science as well?
That's
Correct.
correct.
See, you all know this. You can jump in and do this super quick. I love it. You're like, don't tell me that, John. I didn't want to know that. Don't do anything well that you don't want to do again. Okay, Rise. And hopefully you guys see why I chose to set up my screen like this, because it's easy for us to kind of just cook through this. Utah Aspire Plus. This will be the last one that I'm going to put in for now, and then I'm going to jump to kind of the next piece. I appreciate everybody making time today. How many of you are freaking out about this? Not this, but this whole process. Raise your hand if you're freaking out somewhere. Don't freak out. It'll be fine. It's easy. Scott can attest that it's easy. We got his done in 2 hours, all of his stuff. Provided by USPE. So it's for grades 9 and 10. ACT, so I would assume that's English, math, social science, and science. The gallery. state requirement, school official, and audit evaluation. So we just added about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different products while we were talking. Piece of cake. Why is this disappearing? Okay, so granted, we just added this whole top part. Actually, let's add Canvas so that you don't have to do it, Annie. That's fine. I'm sorry. Canvas is actually one that I want to add because I want to remind you that Canvas is, while there is a state contract for Canvas, it is not a state required product. It is something that you choose to use as your LMS.
John, real quick, sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
If you use Canvas just for your teachers and we don't use it for any student applications, there's no student information in it. Do we need to add Canvas?
Only the stuff that student PII is being shared with.
Okay.
The internet in West Valley doesn't want to work today. How many of you have slow internet? It's all like the candy. Let me try this one more time, and then we'll be done with this piece. See, you can see here that my internet is not responding very well. Okay, I'm going to move on. We can do, well, let's try this real quick. Canvas. And then we're going to jump to adding some other stuff. Holy cow thing. Let's just scroll down. Oh my gosh, there's so many things on here. Kids stayed home from your school today?
Well, there was no electricity and it's snowing outside, so
Oh my gosh, there's no, where are you guys located?
I'm in Park City.
Oh, geez.
Just had one school that had that problem, but I'm talking about sketchy Wi-Fi.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm not being successful right now. So let's jump over to this. I'd hate to waste your time, even though I'm already doing that. Oh my gosh, Google Chrome. What is going on? Okay, maybe I can. All right, there we go. So choose your option. Work through Appendix E and F, just like I just displayed. It should work lickety split. Make sure that you add in UETN or USPA where applicable. It will say on that document, let me just double check and show you. It will say over here whether it is provided by UETN. And if, or on these blank ones, what we're going to want to put is in use, no agreement in SDPC. And the reason why we can use Google and we have no agreement is that Google has a SOC 2 report, which is some cool financial reporting document that they do. And in it, they assess all of their privacy policy stuff. And because they have that, then it counts for us. All right, back to this. Okay, so choose your option 1, 2, or 3. If you have any questions, you can contact me or Katie and we can walk you through that. Use Appendix E and F to fill out all of your state reports, all of your state products based on if you use them or not. And you can see that, you know, Annie and I talked through, there are some that they use and some that they may not. And then Appendix G is there for your reference to go through and be like, okay, these are all of these extra apps that we use. Let's add these. And so let's add these. So this is just for a refresher. We're going to add a new agreement. Yes, this is our 3 gestures. Other type of agreement, UETN or USPA statewide agreement. Remember to add in your metadata. your other information, FERPA, justification, and then that purpose. Okay. Now here we are, and I'm going to navigate over here to our menu. Sorry, I feel like I'm struggling today. I appreciate everybody's time. All right, so what we have here is the USPA application menu. It was updated, as you can see, on Halloween. We currently have 932 products in here, last I checked. As you can see here, all of our state contracts are listed under column C. Oh my gosh, my internet is just not gonna go through. They are all, so we can search. Oh, we can't search. Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. I feel like a fool. Let me just refresh this again. And there we go. Okay, so all of our state contracts, I'm going to just sort by them as soon as I can. Holy cow. If you would like to join us on this menu, I am going to share it with you as long as the internet works. Okay. Here is our menu. All right, there are a lot of new folks on here, but what I would like to talk to you about this menu is that if there is a product on this list, you can use it today, as long as all of your other processes are met within your district, as far as prices and whatnot goes. But what I like to do is hit Control F. That gives me this cool little thing where I can find it in the sheet, and I can type in Class Dojo. Oh, I gotta spell it right. Class Dojo. It exists on line 135. So this is a little bit confusing for those of you that are new, but Class Dojo is available for everybody to put on their listing today. You actually have two choices according to our menu. You can either, and let me do this for the sake of seeing, you can either add it via the privacy pledge, which we can talk about that, how to add it via the privacy pledge. It would actually be exactly like we just added those other things, those three same gestures, that add a new agreement. Yes, we have a signed agreement, other type of agreement, but we would add it instead of a USPA agreement, we would add it as a in-use I Keep Safe badge. So you see, this one is the I Keep Safe badge. This one is the privacy pledge. So you can use it because I Keep Safe says Class Dojo is good to go. And so we in Utah say Class Dojo is good to go. But then you say, but what is this other thing over here? Well, this is Murray School District also uses Class Dojo, and they were able to secure a vendor NDPA, which means that the vendor came back and added a couple of nuances to the agreement. You can take a look at that. Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to go to SDPC. And I don't know if I'm going to anything that is in and use this blue row here to help inform you how to add the product to SDPC. If it's in one of these three columns, you use that other type of agreement, those three gestures that I just showed you. Or if it's in this column, we're going to add it via the auto exhibit E creator. Now, my children go to Granite. I know that they use Class Dojo because I get Class Dojo notifications every couple of days. So I'm going to add Class Dojo if it's not already on here. So I'm going to go manage my agreements. We're going to look and see if Class Dojo is already on our registry. And it is not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to view my district agreements. Add it. No, I'm not going to add a new agreement. I'm going to go to the auto exhibit E creator, just like it says to do right here. It's in this column. I'm going to the auto exhibit E creator. So I go down to auto exhibit E creator. I'm going to let it load for just a minute. And then I'm going to type over here, Class Dojo. And you can see here that Murray has an agreement with Class Dojo. Annie, I'm going to add it. If we want to go back and delete it, we can do that. Okay, so just let me know. But we're going to create an exhibit E right here. And the reason why it has this view warning is because it's vendor specific. And it just wants to make you know that you're signing on to additional terms that you may not want to sign on to, but Annie will delete this after if we need to. Create exhibit E. It's as simple as doing a couple of clicks when we want to create an exhibit E. Of course, the website has to load. And let me double check. Emily Bejarano, are you still experiencing exhibit E issues? Maybe Emily's got a million other things going on. Okay, we're gonna go here, exhibit E, Class Dojo, all the grades, Class Dojo, all the different stuff, Class Dojo. The purpose. Now, here's the purpose. It's on this page for exhibit E's as opposed to down the line like we did it before. We don't have anything to copy and paste because nobody wrote it down for us. So we're going to just, what would we say group is Class Dojo? I would say it is a mechanism for communication with parents. I'll fix that. Also has an incentive program included. Okay. A mechanism, think Grammarly. You should use Grammarly. And if you use Grammarly, you don't have to get a DPA because Grammarly is a general. Oh, look, it's beautiful. Okay. It is a local decision. You have chosen on a local level to use Class Dojo. The state is not requiring it. The feds are not requiring it. And Class Dojo is acting as a school official. Most of the time for this portion of adding apps, it's going to be a local decision and a school official. And then we click I agree. And as soon as this thing stops twirling, 3 things are happening simultaneously right now when we add an exhibit E. One is it's emailing Class Dojo saying that Granite School District is signing on. 2, it is adding it to Granite School District's registry, which is automatic, which it would do to yours as well. And 3, it's superimposing Granite's information onto that DPA. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to go over here to your district agreements, manage agreements. And now we will find Class Dojo on Annie's thing. Here it is right here. And if we scroll down here to exhibit E and I click on this, you will see dun, 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 that it's got Dale Roberts, Granite representative. It's superimposed all of this stuff on here. And I shouldn't do this because my name is Michael Scott and I'm not a real person. So Annie, we'll delete this and you can do it again. How does that sound? We'll do it again together because Michael Scott is not my real name. And I am not the regional manager. Oh, that's awful. So what? I got to delete it right here on manage agreements. Look, this is where we can change the agreement type. We can edit that other info. We can copy this. I've never copied an agreement before, but if you wanted to, that's where you would do it. Or we can delete it. And since I am Michael Scott, regional manager, I'm deleting this agreement. Yes, please delete this agreement. Okay. Those are the 2 mechanisms, the 2 processes that I am hoping that you can utilize this tutorial for. One is to go through and put on all of your state agreements, kind of going back and forth between those. And then the other is using this USPA application menu to add in all of those extra ones. Now, there should be quite a few on here. Like I said, there's 930. Somebody said to me, oh my gosh, I've gone and looked at this list and 90% of the stuff that we use is already on here. And they had quite a few things and they were pretty excited to see that they didn't have to add or go out and acquire new agreements with new vendors. If you have any questions about this, I know that this is really kind of like high level and you need to have a little bit more of a foundational understanding of SDPC and how a lot of this goes back and forth. But I'm really hoping that some of this has been beneficial The other thing that I really wanted to take a little moment to point out, let me go back into this slideshow so that I make sure I cover everything that I wanted to talk about. So if it is in this realm, you would auto exhibit eCreator. You would search. If it doesn't appear on your search, it's already on your registry. There's no agreement in Utah, or the originating agreement has expired. We talked about this, view the warning. It means that there's a vendor specific. We can create an exhibitee, and as you saw, it was just as easy as metadata, FERPA, justification, and FERPA exception, purpose. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was our good friend from Academica West, Emily. She has put together this amazing walkthrough to add all of these different products. So what I'm going to do, this is a playlist. If you click on this, the hyperlink is available. So that's why I'm hoping that you can use our presentation, but I'm going to pop this link in the bottom of the chat. That is a link to all that playlist that has all of those different how to add ACT, how to add access for ELLs. And it goes through and adds each one of those things. As you can see, none of them are longer than 2 minutes. Well, a couple of them, but that's great. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my spiel. Does anybody have any comments, questions, suggestions, or anything else? And if not,
How do we renew expired agreements?
oh, renewing expired agreements. Now that is kind of an issue in and of itself. It may be, I don't know if we have enough time to get into this, but I will show you what we need to do. So if you'd like to pop off at any time, please do. But I'm going to show Sue how to renew an agreement. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into SDPC, and as we're going to manage agreements, it's going to take me back to the page that I'm already on. View inactive agreements right here. And as you can see, we have some inactive agreements, okay? And so what I did when I was working with Uinta is that what we did is oh, look, it's allowing this. So I would advise you to go like this, show all, and then you can drop it into an Excel document like so. Let me pull it up here as it comes up. You are not all required to use SDPC. SDPC is one of 3 mechanisms that you can use, but as we're getting more and more sophisticated with these lists, SDPC and or Learn platform are probably the optimal ways to go. We have very few that are still using a spreadsheet like a Google Sheet in order to organize theirs, but as this gets more sophisticated and as your list becomes more and more comprehensive, I would think that it would be really hard to use a spreadsheet to do something like that. So I've pulled this, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to just organize it a little bit based on, okay, so these are all the things that are inactive. And what I would do is I would just kind of set it up the way that we just did. And I'm going to, go in and change my Zoom settings because SDPC gets weird. There we go. And then I'm going to just go through. Oh, it's a little bit more intricate than I think I have time for, but essentially what we would do is go through and delete some of these because unless they have a Y next to them, because that means that you were the originator of the agreement. So if you are not the originator, I would just delete the instance that you have and then go back in and see if it has been redone. A lot of these have been renewed. Provo, Granite, Jordan, they're doing a lot of work because they were a lot of the initial adopters of this type of work that did a lot of that initial work. So they're going through and updating these. So there's a lot of stuff that you should be able to jump onto and subscribe to, I guess is what I'm trying to say, resubscribe. Let's see here. I'm going to Sue, this is for your purposes. And actually, maybe we can set up a time where I can talk to you about that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that while other people.
That's
Other
okay.
people
And
want to
I'm
do-
okay with just putting them all in again.
Okay, and that may be easier to just delete them and then just go through and add them again. Because
Okay,
it's not gonna, you're not gonna, I mean, and you may be able to resubscribe. I would say too, that if you go through and look at that list and you have privacy pledges or I keep safe badges, I would choose those instead. Does that make sense?
okay.
I would choose those instead of like maybe a DPA, but I know that a lot of the stuff that's going inactive, we're doing a lot of work to get those updated.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? We have 21 participants. I'm sure it's the end of the school day. You've got kids running in and out of your rooms, different things. I am going to edit this and put it back up. Tammy, did you have a question?
Yes. Is there a way for me to see the purpose on my current stuff that I have in my metadata dictionary?
Yes.
Like if I need to go back and re-add a purpose, I can't see where to do that.
Okay, here's how you add a purpose. It is not where you would expect it to. So a purpose is if you go into your resources, and if you're doing this with me, that would be awesome. Your resources, manage resources. It is tucked in over here and you would never find it. And I am so glad that you brought it up in edit contact info. Right here. And that's where the purpose is.
Perfect. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, for the stuff that you've already got in, if it doesn't have a purpose, that's where you could add it. So like this Achieve 3000. Let's do this. I don't know, Achieve 3, and sometimes it's easier to go into their website. Maybe this is where it gets to be a little bit tedious, but for more than, I go to their about. Yes, about us. What we do, Achieve 3000 delivers a comprehensive suite of digital solutions significantly. So I'm going to go right here, edit contact info, edit a purpose. I'm going to push paste, save resource info, go down here. And as you can see, Achieve 3000 now has a purpose. It has purpose. I wish somebody would do that for me. Yes, John Hyatt, your hand is raised.
Oh, thank you. I heard you say this, but I don't know that I've heard it in any other context. The need or the requirement we have legislatively to either have a DPA or if the vendor's got the
So the badge
for
acts under our audit clause in our law. So we have an audit clause that says that an LEA can audit a vendor, and nobody ever does that. But what these third-party badges act as is that audit clause. So so what it says in the law, let me pull it up real quick. 53E-9- you can see my computer knows where we're going.
And I think that's been a sticking point in the back of my mind is, okay, all these 30,000 iPad apps that are used across the district, how do I meet the requirement to say, okay, well, which ones are targeted DPA for?
That's hard. So on our September call, which is posted in our thing, we go through our flow chart. It's the when we need to get a DPA. But as you'll see here, this is how the badges work. In an agreement by the third-party contractor that at least at the request of the education agencies, the party to the contract, the education entity, so this part, the education entity or the education entity's designee may audit
or verify.
Yeah, compliance.
Okay.
And so that's where, and before he left, David Saleh, he confirmed that we use those badges, the terms of service. If you want to dive into terms, the reason why we don't ever even look at the terms of service most of the time is because they don't include that audit clause inherently.
Mhm.
And so we'd never go by terms of service, and that's where like the DPA comes in. But for us, fortunately, those badges work.
Okay.
Mhm.
That helps. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody else have a question? Okay. Well, I will post this. I will send out an email afterwards with a link to this on YouTube. I'm going to clean it up so I look like a stellar facilitator and not somebody with really bad internet. If anybody has any questions, please reach out to me, john.lyman@schools.utah.gov. Please take a look at this playlist that Emily has put together. It's fantastic. Please bookmark this menu. It is ever changing. Like I said up here is when it's how current it is. And you can always go back in and watch our monthly call so that you feel like you've got all the information that you need to keep privacy a priority in your practice. With that being said, I love you all. Have a fantastic week, and we will all be in touch at a later date. Thank you very much.